All right, so we are finally here getting ready to start our first unit of calculus, which is exciting since we spent a lot of time doing review. So we need to lay some foundation before we can even start to talk about what calculus is. Two of the most familiar words for anyone who's listened to someone talk about calculus or has done any research of their own involving calculus. There's two big categories. One is called derivatives and one is called integrals. And we will cover both over the course of this year. Really, we'll spend about half the school year talking about derivatives and half talking about integrals. However, before we talk about either of them, even though they're the two most important things as far as Calculus 1 goes, we can't even describe what they are unless we first talk about something called limits. So that's like the word speed limit, limits, except plural. And it really forms the foundation for everything we talk about for the rest of the year. However, once we complete Unit 1, we will only touch back and refer to limits maybe once or twice for the rest of the year. So what we do in this section is not really reflective of what the big picture of calculus will look like practically, but it is the foundation for absolutely everything that we talk about for the rest of the year. And the reason that I tell you that is so that as you're working through limits, as you get used to them, you probably start to feel like they're a little redundant, maybe even a little bit tedious, and you might start to ask yourself the question, there's got to be an easier way. Why are we doing this? And you probably have noticed along the way in mathematics, that is a question that comes up a lot. We usually learn something the long way and then we get the shortcut. And I know that can be frustrating if you're not told ahead of time. So I'm going to tell you ahead of time. What we learn here in Unit 1 is super, super important. We have to understand it. We can't talk about the rest if we don't understand this. However, it's a very short snapshot and it does get a little bit more, I don't want to say easier, but it gets more fluid from here and less tedious, for lack of a better word. So let's lay this foundation nice and solid and figure out what calculus is all about anyway. So I hope you have fun.